Next, from Springfield, State Treasurer Mike Frerichs holds a press conference to denounce a bill supported by Governor Rauner and the Chamber of Commerce. Treasurer Frerichs says the bill, SB 2901, would make Illinois the only state without audit authority, which is the only tool that exists to make sure people follow unclaimed property law. This runs about 10 minutes.
Hi, my name is Michael Frerichs. I'm the elected state treasurer for the state of Illinois. Thank you for joining me here today. We're here today to draw attention to the damaging legislation that's proposed in SB 2901. SB 2901 would outlaw the use of auditors in the Illinois Unclaimed Property Program. This legislation would protect crooked businesses at the expense of individual taxpayers and honest business competitors. It will provide a get-out-of-jail-free card for companies that knowingly keep unclaimed property. And it would erase a tool used by every industry in America to double-check that they're operating efficiently. Let me offer a little bit of background to you. In Illinois, the Unclaimed Property Program is the responsibility of the Illinois Treasurer's Office. Unclaimed property includes lost bank accounts, insurance policy proceeds, and forgotten safe deposit boxes. Items are surrendered to the Treasurer's Office after private entities typically have tried for at least 3 years to locate owners. Today, we have more than $2 billion in unclaimed property. Of that, more than 1/4, or $612 million, is a direct result of audits. That means that the money we are holding today, more than $600 million, is a direct result of audits. A direct result of the practice that Senate Bill 2901 and Senator Althoff and Governor Rauner and the Illinois Chamber of Commerce hope to outlaw. Why does keeping something that does not belong to you deserve to be protected by special legislation? Honest mistakes happen. That is why every industry in America uses audits. If this legislation passes, it will be impossible to identify which companies are following the rules regardless of their intent. We can readily point to audit success stories inside the Illinois Treasurer's Office. Between 2011 and 2015, audits identified more than $500 million in unpaid life insurance death benefits that should have been paid. In some cases, the insured had been dead for decades. This is money that if Senate Bill 2901 were in effect, would never have been identified. In 2016, Sprint and Radio Shack surrendered $2.4 million in uncashed rebates. This is money that if SB 2901 were in effect, would never have been identified. Just this year, Chicago-based Kemper Corporation reversed course and dropped a lawsuit it had filed to block our audits. The money we find, now that Kemper has come to its senses, potentially millions of dollars, would be hidden forever if Senate Bill 2901 were passed into law. Clearly, audits are necessary. The question then becomes, why does Senator Althoff, Governor Rauner, and the Illinois Chamber of Commerce want to take away the one tool we have to keep these crooked companies honest? Why would they give license to companies to steal money? Why would they knowingly hurt taxpayers and put honest employers at a competitive disadvantage? Their actions are wrong. Their actions put profit over people. Their legislation must be stopped. We learned this lesson when we were kids. When you have something that does not belong to you, you return it. You don't keep it. Everyone knows this. Why does doing something that you know is wrong deserve to be protected by special legislation? Thank you for your time today. I want to introduce a citizen who received an unclaimed rebate as a result of one of our audits. Invite up to the podium Chuck Sullivan.
Thank you, Treasurer. My name is Chuck Sullivan, ChuckSullivan. I live in Champaign. And let me just say this, and I'll be very, very brief. As my former state senator, Mike Frerichs, I know worked extremely hard each and every day on behalf of his constituents. And today, as a treasurer, I know he continues to work hard each and every day on behalf of all the citizens in Illinois. And I believe that this bill that we're talking about today would limit or eliminate actually a tool that the Treasurer's Office currently has at his disposal. About 10 months ago, I received a check for $50 that was owed me by Sprint Corporation. It was owed me from about 10 or 12 years ago. And I'm just, again, Chuck Sullivan from Champaign, a middle-class, average worker, working class family of 4. I could have used that $50 to put gas in my tank, could have bought school supplies or a pair of shoes for my kids. So this bill seeks to eliminate a voice for the average person through the Treasurer's Office, and I believe it's a huge asset that we currently have. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, this is a question of fairness. We stand up on behalf of people here in the state to get the money that belongs to them. But I think it's the right thing to do, but it's also the legal thing to do. These companies are legally required to turn over unclaimed property to the owners of that property. If they can't find them, they're turned over to us, and then we take our responsibility to return unclaimed property very seriously. And I think this legislation would really hurt our ability to do that, to fight on behalf of consumers here in the state, and that's why we're making such a strong call to kill this legislation before it goes any further. Dave.
Well, Mr. Treasurer, it does seem like a strong call, and your party has the super majority in the Senate. It seems like you could stop it pretty easily right there.
Well, you'd see that when we passed our life insurance bill last year, this was put into the governor's veto. We fought that back. It's come back again, they're attempting to, and we think they're going to continue to push this. This is an initiative of the Illinois Chamber of Commerce. We want to make sure that all people in the state understand what is at stake. You know, we take this part of our job very seriously. We spend an awful lot of time thinking about unclaimed property and making sure that people get what belongs to them, but most of your average citizens don't. So we're drawing attention to this and hoping to stop this once and for all.
Do you think the insurance industry is behind the Chamber of Commerce and Governor Rounder's efforts to gut that bill, to gut last year's legislation?
Yeah. Well, we found that there are lots of companies out there that do the right thing. They voluntarily comply and turn over unclaimed property. For everyone else, there are audits. What this would do would allow some bad actors to have an unfair advantage over companies that are doing the right thing. So I can't say who is exactly behind this, except I know the Illinois Chamber of Commerce initiated this. In our discussions with Senator Althoff, she said it was an initiative of the Chamber of Commerce. You know, no other state in the union would have a blanket prohibition over the use of these auditors. Illinois would be the first state. And because they've tried it once with the governor's veto and are trying it again, we're going to continue to fight and hopefully educate the public of what's at stake.
Mike, did Pam Althoff say why she was against this? Was it a question of not having audits or a question of who has to pay for it?
So she said this was an initiative of the Illinois Chamber of Commerce. We know that in negotiations during our life insurance legislation that they were opposed to these auditors. Let me reiterate. These companies have a legal obligation to return this property. The only tool we have to keep them honest is these audits. Taking away our ability to use auditors would allow some companies to be in violation of law. So you'd have to ask Senator Althoff her motivations.
Who would pay for those audits?
Who'd pay for which ones?
The audits that you're, is this your office auditing the insurance companies or?
Yeah. So when we go in and audit, we give companies the ability to pay the owners, to track down the owners. And if they do that, no one earns a dime. If they don't find the owners, if they hold on to it for 3 or 5 years and eventually turn it over to us, there are fees associated with that. But Illinois residents get 100% of what is owed to them. All right, any other questions?
Did Senator Althoff or anybody else say what the true intent of the bill is? Or is it really just to be diabolical and steal from people and, take things that aren't there?
Well, Dave, I can't tell you what their intent was, but I can tell you what the effect of this law would be. And the effect would be giving certain crooked corporations an unfair advantage over their competitors. Many businesses in the state do the right thing. They voluntarily turn over their money to us. But there are honest mistakes that are made. And that's why we have audits. Doing away with these auditors, doing away with our ability to keep these companies honest would create an unlevel playing field. It would mean some companies out there were not doing what they were legally required to do.
Have the insurance companies, you had talked last year about the life insurance companies where they weren't reporting to some of the beneficiaries about the fact that they had money coming to them. Are they now required to use the Social Security death master list?
Yes, according to legislation we passed last year, they're required to use the death master file. We've talked an awful lot about how this would affect the life insurance industry, but as Chuck pointed out, there are other companies out there sitting on money. Let me give you a little bit of background for everyone here. So there are some companies that promise rebates. You show up, you purchase something, you are told you're going to have a certain amount deducted from the cost of the good you're buying. Well, and then they hand you a receipt, and they hand you a form to fill out, and they hand you an address to mail it to. Would it not be much more efficient to just simply deduct the rebate from the cost of the good? It would. But they know that a certain percentage of people won't go out and send it in. They'll get busy, they'll get distracted, they might lose the forms that were given to them. But they promise this to Illinois citizens. That money is owed to them, and we fight to get that to them. And without these auditors, it would limit our ability to do this. It would take away, and once again, Illinois would be the only state in the union to have this blanket prohibition on these auditors.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you all very much.